Hi there, I'm John Byrne with Poets&Quants. Welcome to our MBA Watch Profile of the Week, sponsored by mbaMission. We have a candidate here who calls herself Ms. New York, psychology major with a 3.25 GPA from a mid-tier private university, a 710 GMAT, but she also has a law degree from a top 10 Ivy League school. And she has an interesting career, not as a lawyer, but as a consultant in a law-related consulting field. She's been working at this firm for 3 years, and she essentially wants the MBA to transition from that job into general strategic consulting. She's applying to a school that is very familiar to our consultant today, Rachel Beck from mbaMission, graduated from Columbia with her MBA, and our candidate wants to go to Columbia too. Rachel, what do you think?
Yes, Columbia. Well, I always like to see Columbia, in the spotlight. I do like that. So this candidate, I had a few thoughts on. First of all, I was looking at her academic profile, and her undergrad grades are a little bit on the low side for Columbia. And that was a little bit worrisome to me because Columbia seems to be very, very focused on maintaining GPAs that are close to their averages. So a 3.25 is a little worrisome for me.
Especially in psychology, right?
Yes, in psychology, no less. So it's not like she was a mechanical engineer and had a 3.25. She was a psychology major. Additionally, something that stood out to me was the 710. I'd like to get a little more information on her 710. I would like to see her quant score. And something that I thought that could be a possibility for this applicant, if she doesn't have a good quant score, which I think she does need to demonstrate, would be to take the executive assessment as a possible plan B. Even though the 710 isn't technically below the median, and I mean, it's just like a breath lower. If her quant score isn't great, she could have this very nice plan B with the executive assessment.
Right.
For me, her reason for wanting to go to business school is something that I really want to hear more. And I kept thinking about Columbia's typical first essay, which is why do you want to go to business school? What's your short and long term career goals? And I just kept thinking, does she really need the MBA to transition from the kind of consulting that she's doing to the strategic consulting?
Right. And she seems to think that she needs it because she believes she doesn't have the relevant education and experience to make that move.
Right.
Although, if you have an Ivy League law degree and you're already doing a form of consulting, and one of the things that she does say is she's dipped her toes in this space in her current job, working on projects with other divisions at her firm, and she's really enjoyed the work. You might be able to leverage that experience into a full-time job at MBB or another consulting firm without the MBA. But, hey, a lot of people like to go to school, and an MBA is a great degree to have. And if she doesn't know a lot about the basics of business in the core disciplines, she would certainly get that in an MBA degree.
And I would actually say to her that learning those foundational business skills and writing about them in her essays of why they're so important to her would be a very key component in her application to really make the point over and over again. I need these skills to reach these next levels of my career.
Yeah, exactly. The other thing here is she really wants to go to Columbia. She's going to apply early decision, which, if you're accepted and you agree to go, then you're locked in. She seems committed to New York. She calls herself Ms. New York.
Mhm.
Traditionally, all of us would say, hey, never apply to just one school because elite MBA admissions can often be somewhat random, given how highly qualified the applicant pool is at each of these schools. But in her case, this may actually do her some good to apply early decision to Columbia and know with total confidence that that's where she wants to be, right?
I always advise people to apply early to Columbia if it's their first choice, because I think it's slightly easier to get into Columbia in the early decision round. But I say to my clients every year, and I would say 75% of them listen to me and 25% don't, you still have to work on your other applications. You can't put all your eggs in that basket, because if you do not get accepted and then it's September 1st, you're in a bit of a pickle. She could still get into a great consulting firm from a school outside of Columbia. So I think that's important. Though she calls herself Ms. New York, so she might not be willing to leave New York City. She might, if she broadens her horizons a little bit, I think she could be successful.
So, Rachel, what other schools would you advise her to apply to?
She might want to apply to a school like NYU, which is slightly less competitive. She might look at a Darden or a Duke or a Tuck that also have very, very nice placement into consulting. So those could be options for her.
Give her odds for Columbia early decision. What would you say?
You always have to look at yourself compared to other applicants. And you have to ask yourself, what do I offer that they don't have? And so I think this applicant has to really take a hard look at herself and think, what am I bringing to the table? Okay, I have a law degree from an Ivy League school, which is terrific, very, very hard to get. But what else do I offer? Something that she does offer that we didn't talk about yet is she's done extensive mentorship, both in law school and in her career. And I really believe that Columbia and the other business schools like to see people who don't just work on their own success, but work on the success of others.
Hmm.
So I don't like giving chances, but I think she's probably around the 50% mark in terms of her probability of getting in.
There you go. All right, Ms. New York, we think you have a really good shot at Columbia early decision, even though your GPA is kind of low. And your GMAT is also a little bit below the class average at Columbia. But I think having an Ivy League law degree is a big deal. And really being committed to Columbia is a big deal for the school. Although Rachel is saying you ought to hedge your bets, apply to a bunch of other schools, including NYU Stern if you want to stay in New York. Or Darden or Duke, which are good schools to get into strategic consulting. This is John Byrne with Poets and Quants. You've been watching our MBA Watch profile of the week, sponsored by MBA Mission.